but we are going to raise awareness that it was not recorded, and we are going to record today. We are going to talk about what consciousness serves. No, and David is going to have his ideas, his hypotheses, and also his beliefs. And logically, I'm going to share mine, and that's what it's going to be about. Our topic today is going to be discussed, and we are going to start, right? For what purpose was consciousness created for human beings?
Consciousness was also created to carry us along for a correct path, to be able to discern or be able to choose between good and bad. But this good and bad for each person is different, because each one of us is surrounded by a different environment. And in what environment you have to choose family and friends. The place where we live often influences a lot in making decisions, whether good or bad. For example, with Wendell, we lived in a place that was very conflictive, and that did not mean we made bad decisions, because behind us we had family members who were able to guide us and make us choose consciously and go down a path less conflictive, and become aware that we needed to develop both in the human, spiritual, and also academic aspect.
Of course, I like your answer, and because it's true, that is all we acquire is consciousness. It's like, and you said it last time, it's programmed to alert us. We also have conscience of good and evil. Not only is it an indication, but it is also a guide for exploring ourselves, not of being able to discern with our conscience, which is the best option based on all the experiences we have acquired in life, but also even how we confront our fears, right? And how we also visualize with our consciousness where we want to reach in our life purpose. Because consciousness is also what gives us the identity of what we were, but it also projects us the identity we want. Now and I think consciousness, more than an alert factor, helps us project the future without knowing how that future is going to arrive, but it does help us plan based on all the information in our lives, how we can get to that future and how we should prepare now. If we choose right or wrong, that's what we sometimes go against conscience, right?
Of course, because, well, what we talked about that time, we all always think about winning, and many times always wanting to win makes you choose not the best path. Many times you miss many things that within your conviction you know are wrong, but since we always want to win, we skip everything to win. But when we can finish the goal. But if we look back, we did it wrong. But you said reaching the goal, he says. The important thing is to reach the goal. But what will give you the most satisfaction is to reach the goal. Doing good is much more satisfying for you.
Sure, and I do.
That we all do everything not so that other people see us as lucid, but rather that we all set goals to meet for ourselves, for the staff.
Of course, and it's the background and also the form, right? So apparently ethics. Does he play a lot? That is the knowledge that conscience acquires, is also how one acquires a code of ethics and morality that also tells you, well, you did win, but you did win by cheating. How satisfying would it be? Unlike, yes, you win with all the loss, and you put in all the effort and you did it based on effort and your convictions, no, then it has more value. We even wonder, right? Why do we sometimes fight so much against our conscience?
Because we always want to discuss human nature, discuss to be the best, to be able to always be, because we are always listening to our instincts to overcome being the king of the pack, the wolf, the pack leader. This always makes us want to win, argue, or excel. These are important factors, but more crucial, I think, is doing it consciously. And as we discussed the last time, it's like we program this. How is it that this operating system goes to our brain and we send it all this information so that next time we can say, oh, let the little devil come out and the angel come out and tell us this is good or this is bad, but it will depend a lot on us and our environment. So we are the ones who program, we are the programmers of this new code that when it happens, an event, we can discern whether it is right or wrong, and that is consciousness. Where is that information recorded? We don't know, but it always comes and goes to tell us if we're doing right or wrong or stop, or just if I want to decide something. Conscience will allow me to reflect and make the best decision if we do. If we think a lot, we are going to find a lot of problems, and here comes frustration.
Of course, and sometimes, of course, and sometimes we debate a lot with our conscience, not only because of, as you say, wanting to win, but wanting to win to control a situation, or sometimes even a relationship, with the desire to feel empowered, but empowered by controlling perhaps even the uncontrollable. For example, we cannot control another person other than ourselves, no, but we insist on making aware that we have reason to, in that environment, make the other person wrong. With what psychological eagerness, no? The psychological desire of a person that if he has the truth, that means that that person does not have to go through an evolution process because he has the truth in himself. That means those who are wrong have to evolve around that truth. And that too perhaps makes, for example, human beings want to manipulate their consciousness, manipulate it so that they do not have to go through a process of suffering, of change. Because let's be honest, change is suffering, and conscience knows it very well. Consciousness knows that in order for one to acquire new knowledge and new talent, you have to go through a process of ignorance, and that ignorance sometimes brings a lot of fear. It also brings with it certain traumas because you expose yourself, and by being vulnerable, you feel that all eyes see you and you feel like you don't know, that people can retaliate against your ignorance. So I see why maybe our conscience tells us, hey, it's okay for you to lose, but you're going to win later. But in our thought process is that I don't want to see myself vulnerable. Why? Because it makes me perhaps look weak, and I always want to see myself empowered, and that's where I go, that sense of identity, of empowerment. To what extent can it be destructive and or constructive?
Nothing destructive when you want to do a lot of things or you do a lot of things wrong. Do you want to dominate the truth? If you want to manipulate so that the result is given. So all this does is that I think that here too we have to add a little to whom we have to generate much more gratitude, because all these processes that one does have to be taken with gratitude because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel that though you're losing and you're going to win, because we can't win all afternoon. We have to know that there are difficulties in every process, of course, but if you give your best effort, this will bear fruit later. I mean, my conscience is going to tell me that I have to lose, but I have to learn from that, because if I keep going back and forth on the same problem, I am going to get frustrated. So I have to be grateful that I'm losing, that I'm learning, but at the same time, I must generate awareness to generate change. If I don't, I'll keep going.
Giving and arriving.
These vicious circles of always doing the same thing, of generating frustration, fear, and not getting over this is going to keep me sick.
Clear and separated.
Gratitude with everything because we saw that we have grateful.
Sure, and that's how it's generated. Many emotional disorders are generated, not when, because sometimes conscience doesn't tell us to lose, but it does say, well, you have to give in, and giving in is not losing. Giving in is giving the other person the opportunity to take the lead, and sometimes we must learn to spread the difference, not between giving in and also acceptance, because we also confuse losing with acceptance, right? So then our conscience sometimes tells us, well, that's the reality, accept it, and sometimes not. How am I supposed to accept? That is, and we are going against what conscience tells us, that you practically say, well, we have already, as conscience says, well, I have already studied all this and I have seen it in the past, that I am giving you the information so that you can accept it and thus come up with a solution starting from that point of acceptance. And sometimes it is very difficult to understand that sometimes. We don't all have to lead it sometimes. Others have greater talents than you, and we have to be aware of saying, well, this one I have to give in. Why? Because I am not the strongest in that area. But when it comes to me here, because I know my strength, and just as I know my vulnerabilities, I go to that person or that group will have to give in to my leadership, because it is known that there is my strong point. Right? And that's the beauty of conscience. I mean, consciousness is so beautiful that when you get up, it reprograms to let you know it's you. It's like almost like a video game that you leave it, that what you record, and when you record it, you start from where you recorded it.
Yes, but felt that vibration intense.
New York City.
There's so much more beyond the walls. Let's explore.
I'm a beast. You know I'm a beast. Welcome to the feast. My whole team off the leash. We don't know defeat. Everybody eat. Hey, you know I'm a beast. You know I'm a beast. Welcome to the feast. My whole team off the leash. We don't know defeat. Everybody eat. Hey, you know I'm a beast.
Can I run up the score, run up the board, breaking them all? Ay, ay, walking the door, you know what happened? We step on the floor. Ay, ay, coming from one, you don't want partners, you already know it. Ay,
My Maestro style, cosmic call. It is time to create.
Inspection everywhere.